It wasn't a dream, it was a vision. I was awake. He had a board, basically a beggar's board, on some help anything, food, like money, whatnot. He became a hobo. He became homeless and started to beg on the street because no one would listen to him anymore. No one would hire him anymore. But he was at some point an important member of society. He was at some point a senior member of his organization. But when you commit that kind of fraud, doors close on you on all sides and no one wants to work with you anymore. I mean, that guy's fraud is at the height of basically national treason. You don't get to be that dishonest and be trusted anywhere else. You're basically stabbing your own country in the back. And so no car dealership is gonna want to hire you as a salesman. No McDonald's is gonna want you pushing their burgers. You are a treasoner that hates your country. That's why you did this to YouTube, to social media platforms of your country. So the guy ended up a poor man on the side of the street, out here begging for spare change. But at some point he had a penthouse apartment and money coming out of his nose, mouth, and eyes from the funerals of thousands of people. It's so easy. You've got short fuses, do you understand? Men and women in the occult. The moment you join these secret societies and then you start to use companies in your country, you start to use your nation's economy to effect your occult strategies. You become a terrorist because these cults have got members chilling as warm bodies in chairs in regular companies where regular men and women go and get their regular job, where men and women get their regular salaries, where men and women go and basically make their regular lifestyles, livelihoods. It's like companies, it's ABSA, it's FNB, it's Standard Bank, it's MTN, it's Vodacom, it's Telkom, it's RMB, it's Old Mutual. It's just the country's companies, insurance companies, medical companies, car companies, automotive. You get my point. It's retail stores, FMCGs, Checkers, Pick and Pay, Woolies. The jugular of the country, the economy, that which enables it to breathe. And you are placed across it, littered in companies that run the country. Companies that are the jet fuel of the country. And you hurt its citizens through these companies. You become the barrier to entry into Old Mutual, into Standard Bank, into Woolies as an HR administrator, into, purely because you have signed your soul over to the devil in a satanic cult. And these cults know that they can't really have any kind of influence or power unless they grab hold of positions in the South African economy. They lodge themselves at the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. They lodge themselves in Parliament. They lodge themselves in all, like macro, everywhere you can go. And then they function as barriers to entry. And should you meet one of them, should you annoy, upset, irritate even one person that has been recruited by these cults, your whole life can be destroyed. Because even though you peeved them off at MTN, this person belongs to a cult that knows people that work at Woolies, at Telkom, at Old Mutual, at this, at that, at BMW, like everywhere. So everywhere where you knock on doors, you are out here being door slammed, literally freaking blacklisted in the whole country. Because Laban Laba call in favors and say, if this person, this ID number, Karabo Hlongwane 840808, rest of it, tries to knock on your door, mvalela my gate. And if she gets to a point of having an interview, make sure Uguti she does not succeed at the next one. Because she even slipped through the cracks. She's so far. She got to the point of slipping through the cracks of the recruitment agency that did not yet get the memo. And also went through the front door of a company But once she's gone past the front door, make sure she does not make it past reception. Akazongena ngama turnstiles. She is not going to make it as a warm body in a chair working in a corporate. You met a person like that. A person that works in a cult that can pull strings across the South Africa, making sure ukuthi umuntu akasebenzi. And I mean, if at all bakhona FNB, if they're at Old Mutual, if they're at Standard Bank, if they are at Woolies, give me a company, name it, honey, then you must understand they are, especially at YouTube. They're at Facebook, they're at Instagram. They work for international companies that have got branches in South Africa. So, hauna mokaya, even if you try to skip the border through e-commerce. Even if you try to skip the border through e-commerce, you're done for. Labantu, they are everywhere. So no one is truly safe because you can meet them anywhere. You can meet them anywhere. You can meet them at church because they love to claim that they're Christians. They can be the new colleague that starts working. It can be the person that's behind you in the queue that you stand on the foot of. And don't say sorry because you're irritated for the day because your kid was a truant in school, did not pitch for school, so you're kind of rude because you're upset about your child. And so you bump someone at the Woolies and then you step on their toe and you don't say sorry, and they feel so some kind of way about that they literally make it their life's mission to ruin you. Make it their life's mission to absolutely ruin you because you had a bad day. Or you could genuinely have a falling out with them because they were rude or they did something that was wrong. But because they can never do anything wrong because they're protected by the whole country of occult practitioners, they are just expecting an apology from you, even though they were the ones that were out of line. And they will make sure that you can't move left or right, up or down. It's been a decade for me of running from pillar to post, unable to get any kind of decent job in this country. Despite my experience, despite my knowledge, my education, despite my intelligence, despite how impressive I am, for 10 years, I've been made to run around in circles because I stepped on the toes of occult practitioners. And still to this day, they're expecting an apology from me. Well, thank God, where it is that you have shut doors, God knows how to open one. Thank God that you as South Africa can be corrupt like no man's business. But you don't gotta call in other countries into your crazy. You properly don't get to invite into your nonsensical destruction of the lives of innocent souls in your own country. Citizens, you don't get to invite other nations into that cesspool of crazy. So when then you use their platforms to do your trash, thank God that because it's not their modus operandi, they're not trying to do that. Thank God that it's possible when they find out that you're doing that they can just simply cut off your supply of oppressive energy, your supply of oppressive jet fuel, and so set free some of your own countrymen that you have seen it fit to devastate with barriers to entry. The sebeletsa Satan is that basic. And the devil, like it's written here in John 10, steals, he kills, he destroys. That's all that he can do. But Jesus Christ has come to give life and life abundantly. So therefore, when then his servants are endured through that kind of tyranny, it was ordered by God that they should step on the toes of freaks that think they can call the whole country, that have the whole nation on speed dial, to take a 29-year-old woman's life and end it by simply saying, "You will retire because I said so." They're so arrogant that they thoroughly think that, how dare you say that to me? How dare you speak to me like that? How dare you brace my shoulder when you walk by without saying sorry? People who think they defecate ice cream, who think that their breath smells like roses in the morning when they've just woken up, People who, thanks to joining occult organizations, seriously imagine that everybody is at their mercy. They've made themselves little deities. They've made themselves little gods, and have determined to basically schedule the destinies of people as to how they're going to come and how they're going to go. And should anybody antagonize what they're doing and refuse to bite, they have determined too that it's written in God's word that the people on the ground mourn when a wicked man takes on power, but they rejoice when a righteous man takes on power. You will keep on drowning men, women, and children because of stealing their ability to merely live, until one day God raises up men and women that are going to stand so firm against your trash that you will eventually be uprooted. I know who I serve, who I stand for. I am the sheep of Christ, and he leads me out. I hear his voice. And so I'm not about to go and take myself out of myself, because you have successfully been such a strong barrier to entry that absent of me being your little prostitute, I will never live. Congratulations, you have succeeded to make that a truth, except I can only ever be a little mistress and a brothel queen in South Africa, but not in the US. I don't have to be a whore because you decided that I become one or die. I don't have to. I don't have to do any of that, because those are your country's decisions to go and make entire chaste women whores. It's your policies. You're the one that's trafficking good girls in South Africa. But I have options. That's the name of this video, right? I've got options. I don't have to live in this country. I don't have to stay here. I also don't have to either die or be a prostitute. Either die or be a Nyazi. Either die or take up isitembu. Either die or take up a job from some stupid ex-friend that denied that she did witchcraft against me because also feel like guilty. Either die or embrace rubbish men and women that claim they did nothing to me, gaslighting the living daylights out of me, who now feel really guilty about what they did as innocents. Either die or proper. I don't have to take any of those options. I don't have to. Because I serve the one true God. I serve the man who became flesh and then dwelt among us, the Word, who became flesh and dwelt among us. I serve the God of the universe, who, even though the enemy can come at me like a flood, God will raise up a standard against him. I serve the Holy One of Israel, who says, trust me. Lean not on your own understanding. In all of your ways acknowledge me, and I will make your paths straight. He says to me, do not be anxious for anything, for in all things, by prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving, make your requests known to me, and I will guard your heart and your mind in Christ Jesus. In so doing, I serve the God of all the earth, who will do right. So I am not subjugated to the tyranny of mere mortal men, who will perish like the glory of the pastures any minute now, and so have no influence on the earth's affairs anymore, while I continue to live on. People whose gaseous exchange make them fart, stinky fart, and yet I'm supposed to be scared of them. People who, if at all they stopped breathing, they would die, while I serve a resurrected king who cannot die. People who are eternally condemned while I have eternal life. People who can do nothing but kill the body but thereafter be able to do nothing. While I serve a God who can not only kill the body, but can also throw the soul with that same body into the flames of hell, I am expected to tremble before worthless men and women that strangely believe that there is nothing here to resist. What heinous thing they are. They are extreme. They're exquisitely diabolical. They're the bane of the earth's existence. And they calamitize without thinking. They're selfish, narcissistic, inward-focused, conceited, can do nothing but regard their own cause, have no interest in perusing consequences that are so wide-reaching on a national scale that they ought uninspire people from continuing in certain acts. They're so unable to think for the future, they have such little foresight that they can literally nuke an entire country just in taking out a squinch on one person, and so endure everybody, including themselves, through radiation poisoning for the next 50 years. They're crazy and they're idiots, and they're prepared to decimate their entire countries just to gain $10,000 for today. People like those, you seriously believe that as an earth citizenship we are at the mercy of, with there being no God? I kid you not. Some people get born again purely because such people exist, because it is impossible to live in a world so full of narcissistic, conceited creeps and not have faith in a God, do you understand, that can stay them from finishing their course. The only reason the earth is still a going concern while it still continues to spin on an axis, the reason why that is still a thing, is because there is something restraining, something restricting, and something limiting the scope of crazy that those on earth who are crazy can walk in. You are malevolent, like in the worst way. How under heaven you can fathom that you can just meet a person that steps on your toes in a Woolies in the queue and destroy their entire future, and there not be a God that can stay you from finishing your filthy work? How can you seriously believe that people like you can exist and there be no God? There are people who turn their lives over to God purely because some of you are just that evil. You're irresponsible, like in the worst way. You are siloed. You think in your small little tiny canyon. You think in a cave, in a cubicle that has no sense or reason in it. And in so being, in this little cubicle of yours, could succeed to decimate an entire country if it was not for the staying hand of God. You know, Newton's law of motion has it that an object in motion will stay in motion unless or until it is acted on by another force. So essentially, absent of there being something called resistance, stuff just goes downhill. It's incontinent. It is stools, diarrhea, unfettered, with a person facing death by dehydration and malnutrition because all the food just keeps going out. But you see, there is something called a restrainer, there is someone called God, and there is something also in the body called regulating chemical balancing hormones that ascertain that after a season of diarrhea, insofar as you go on a certain protocol, you will probably recover. The body shock absorbs and heals. Blood coagulates because there is God. If at all your blood did not coagulate, go and ask anybody that has got hemophilia. People who the smallest little thing can cause them to either internally bleed, or if they get cut, they bleed to excess. That which would exsanguinate us, like cutting a jugular, exsanguinates them because they simply fell on a school playground. They're always in danger. They have to walk around very, very careful. But you see, we, as regular human beings that don't have a blood disorder, have blood that coagulates because if at all, once your wound is open, blood does not start to thicken up and coagulate, we would eventually be exsanguinated, even if that blood is not coming from an artery, even if it is not gushing from such a giant hole that you could quickly bleed out. Even a small cut in the life of somebody that does not have something staying it from finishing its full course can end a life, because life is in the blood, and when then you drain a person of their blood, they can perish. So Newton's law of motion can apply in so very many respects, as instead of just motion, it can apply to disastrous events. It can apply to the human body. That which is a killing thing in a human body, if at all something does not stay it, the human body will die. When people are awake for too long without sleeping, that is an object in motion that will stay in motion unless acted on by a force called sleep. If you don't sleep and so your body rests and your organs recover, you will perish. You will start to get disoriented after a couple of days, and so therefore your life force will leave from your lungs. Similarly too, if at all you are to remain in dehydration and don't drink water for 1, 2, 3, 4th day, you will probably start to die. If you don't eat, your body will auto-cannibalize on itself. Therefore, eat muscle. It'll first eat its own flesh, so you will lose weight. And then once it's eaten flesh, it'll then start to eat muscle. And if it still does not get food, then the body will die. Unless you do what? Eat, right? That is an object in motion that will stay in motion unless acted on by another force. There are evidences all across creation to evidence that there is something restraining the nth degree of human entropy. All right. It's written in God's word in Romans 1 that we are without excuse when we don't embrace the cross, because the invisible qualities of God are all over creation. And also we have got our consciences to speak those volumes to us. The invisible qualities of God, among them are such things as an object in motion will remain in motion unless acted on by a resisting force. Our bodies are full of it. Nature is full of it. Inertia. There is wind. Do you understand? To ascertain that things don't just continue in a trajectory without them slowing down. Birds cannot do without the wind. They would just fly or fall without there being something to stay them buoyant in the sky. That's a resisting force. It keeps them elevated. It makes them glide. It makes them soar in the sky. There are things on earth that evidence that God is a God of restraint. God is a God of balance. God is a God of order, not of chaos, but peace. And when something is too extreme, you know that saying, something of a good thing, too much of a good thing is not so great anymore. Yeah, God is the God of regulating extremities to enable you to lessen them already. Heightening up or intensifying heat on a stove will burn up the room until you reduce the heat. If you decide to go and put your hand on that stove, worse off then are you. But also more hastily are you going to remove your hand from the stove, because that is an object in motion that will stay in motion unless acted on by another force. What is the other force that is staying you from killing yourself with heat? It is your pain receptors. They're telling you, stop or you will die. So, with there being so much in nature, evidencing that there is something restraining the nth degree of people finishing them off ever so suddenly, what makes you think you can be a disaster zone of a despot out here running amok with all of your incontinence, with there being nobody or nothing at all on earth to stay you from finishing the course of your crazy? The wickedness you walk in is exorbitant. Do you understand? It is extreme. It's far gone and frankly also far-fetched, but nonetheless you get it, don't you? Lasagna. And the sad and disquieting thing is that you strangely are with limited knowledge of the fact that you don't operate in a vacuum. Nothing ever does on earth. All other things equal is really just for scientific experiments. For the better majority of the time, there are so many other factors influencing any kind of ecosystem. So you don't operate in isolation. You cannot be isolated in a vacuum. You do necessarily afflict everything else around you. You affect mankind, animals, and plants alike. The breath you draw also expels carbon dioxide like everybody else. You are part of an ecosystem of human beings. You cannot, in that unitary mindset and trying to take, inhale, not then on that day afflict somebody else on the periphery of you. Selfishness is the be-all and end-all of the human disease. Do you understand? Lahlanya. That's why your countries fall apart. That's why everything you are falls apart. That's why every last one of your ideals falls apart. And that's why at the end of your lives, you are so empty. But not first before emptying everybody else. You have got a whole, I'm not going to go out by myself mindset. You're greedy. You want to bring down everybody with you, just like your father, the devil. You're already condemned. And so for those reasons, you want to take as many people as possible to hell with you. But just as with the devil, who wanted to take as many people to hell with him as possible, there was a staying force, wasn't there? His name was Jesus. Is Jesus. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whomsoever shall believeth upon him will not perish but have everlasting life. Christ is the restrainer. Don't you see? Of the crazy incontinent, I'm going to take every last one of you with me to hell. Of the devil, he was bitter, he was mad, he was angry, he was selfish, and he decided that all the human race is going to go and sink with him in the abyss, go and endure a second death, the lake of fire. In that place there is weeping and gnashing of teeth, and the smoke of your torment rises up forever, and there is no rest for you day and night. Satan said that I'm going to take these people to the place that was made only for me and my angels. And then the Lord brought a restrainer, the name of whom is Jesus. The Lord gave himself as that which stays mankind from their downward trajectory to hell, their downward spiral to hell, the vortex in which they're spinning to hell. He stayed it with himself. He is the resistor, the restrainer, that which stops nonsense dead in its tracks. And I serve him. I serve him. I've given my life to Jesus Christ. And I can't be plucked out from the hand of neither him nor the Father. But the attempt? The attempts at my soul. I don't know how many times I have to say this time and time again. Perhaps maybe the reason why people in the occult, or just anyone at all that is crazy, is selfish, is because they hope everybody else will take care of the situation. Maybe that's what's going on. So there is somebody that I live with that is messy. Can't deal. Messy. Do you understand? Just absolutely messy. Like, pee. Leave toilet seat open, unflushed. We see your yellow urine and the toilet paper. Right there. Somebody else gotta walk in there. Close the toilet seat, flush. Open it again and wipe it down. People who will sit on a toilet and leave stains on the rim and just go. Yeah, breadcrumbs on the kitchen counter. Have you ever encountered, if you're any kind of decent neat, skirpote, like a pot scraper with like eggs in it, green pepper, onion, tamati, skirpot, what is skirpote? It's just like a pot scraper. I don't know what else you call it in any other country, but it's a pot scraper. It's made of steel and stuff, and it really just gets grime off a pot that you burned food on the surface of. You know how you can have little bap just trapped inside the pot scraper? Yeah, you go and you grab that, please. Like, I'm not speaking to people who can just deal with a tomato juice pond on their ottoman, or a tomato juice pond, because that's exactly what it is, on their coffee table, and just go on their merry way. Just leave the house and, go jogging or whatever. I'm not speaking to people like those, because you get them. They fashion them that way on earth. I'm speaking to people who have any kind of decent desire for a clean household. Everybody else does not count, because y'all strangely don't got eyes to see that there is a pond of grape juice on the coffee table. How do you not see that pond or a rim of coffee on the kitchen counter? There are people who can just glide right by that. Just sail right past. There are people who can sail right past that, and if you're one of them, you don't count, please. You absolutely do not count. So don't crease your forehead wondering, but what's wrong with it? Of course you wouldn't know. I'm talking about people like you. You know what it's like. Those of you that are not the kinds to leave ponds of pomegranate juice on the coffee table. What encountering skierbot that has tomato and pap and egg and beetroot and onion just left there on the container for scrubs in the kitchen, just left there, with or without a sink clean, without dishes in it. No dishes. So I mean, one should apparently allegedly be satisfied that there's no dishes in the sink, right? But why am I gawking at that petri dish of a skierbot? I don't know about you guys. Maybe I'm the only one. Perhaps I am. But I am the kind of person to literally just stand there underneath running water, just picking at skierbot, and then shaking it to make sure that everything comes out, and then turning it up and down, flipping it like an egg on a pancake, an egg on a pan, just to make sure that every last thing is out. Because who in the world wants to just gaze upon skierbot that has got all the cultures, all the microorganisms of South Africa on it, just glaring, staring at you, so we can go and grab that same skierbot again and wash the next pot with all the pap of last year still in the old skierbot, still in. There are people like that, right? People who are to be leaving ponds of coffee on coffee tables and rings of orange juice on the kitchen counter, breadcrumbs. People that are to be grabbing tea bags and half-consumed tea just sitting in the kitchen sink. Like, I mean, was it so hard for you to tola the tea first and foremost, and then like just take that tea bag and throw it in the bin? I can deal with washing the cup later. I can. But why must I spill out that tea with the tea bag in the sink? And then what also like catches me like crazy off guard, like a perverted man jumping out of a bush trying to rape you as you're jogging in the park. Yeah. It's when you're done washing the dishes, right? And the sink is apparently spotless. But like, it's not spotless. That's just the thing. It's not spotless. You walk bouncing up and down in the kitchen, whistling. And then you happen upon an apparently spotless sink. And then you just look in there and, oh, look at the pot scraper being not so much the pot scraper, but the drain. Out your hairs, dangling carrots, dangling onion, dangling whatever, like egg. It's just there, but now it's like all dry. It's all dry. Because it's been there for like a good 2 hours before you spotted it. How in the world you walk past a sink that has got some food trapped in the sink, and you don't either finish that food off to go down into the sink and disappear, or at least scoop it with a tissue, put it in the bin, whatever you want to do, but it gotta go, right? It gotta go. Yeah, there are people who just leave stuff like that. There are people who just leave stuff like that. Or you know what peeves me off? I absolutely love mirror surfaces because I'm pretty. But over and above being pretty, they just open up the house. Okay? So I like mirror fridges, and I also like mirror microwaves because they're cute and my face looks good in them too. But they take so much maintenance, except they don't really take that much maintenance. When you've got a mirror refrigerator, like one that you can see your whole reflection on it, or you've got a mirror microwave, fingerprints, guys, like fingerprints. All you need to do is just press that microwave to open it, for there to be your thumb all up in there. Biometrics at the bank can rock up and figure that you live there by simply happening upon your microwave. And then there's like, never mind fingerprints on this mirror microwave, but it's also tomato sauce fingerprints or mayonnaise fingerprints or jam. Fingerprints. Why? Like, why is this my life? How do you just walk into the kitchen in something that you can gaze upon your reflection in it and not see that there's a fingerprint on your cheek? But no, it's not on your cheek, it's on the microwave, guys. Like, I can't. Like, I literally cannot breathe. I can't deal. And it doesn't take much to get rid of that. That's just the thing. You don't even have to afflict the microwave with all of those fingerprints, because at the end of the day, if at all the microwave opens by you just pressing a button, why is there a fingerprint on like the top right corner of the microwave? What is just hanging on it? Like, guys, high-fiving the microwave. High five. Perhaps this individual was on the phone and just did that with the microwave as like just held on to it for balance. And that's why there's like 5 fingers on the microwave surface. I need to understand. Children, and even then under the age of 10, are the ones that out here be scooping peanut butter with their finger, licking it, closing the can, closing the top, and then opening the cupboard with that grubby fingerprint paw and putting the jar back. So you can understand why there's peanut butter on the door handle of guys, like of cupboard, of the pantry. You can understand why small little 10-year-old handprints of peanut butter have encircled handle yaraka. But when there's no 10-year-olds in the house, why do your fingers have peanut butter when you are opening the fridge or opening the pantry? Why is your whole handprint on the microwave? And even then, it's got mayonnaise. Like, what do you do? Like, when mayonnaise mistakenly spills on your pinky as you are scooping it with a spoon, do you not first be like, oh snap, oh look at that, okay, all better, and then handle something else? Is that not what happens in normal human life when you're an adult? I need to know. Somebody tell me. But when you have tomato sauce land on your index, and this does not dawn on you before you carry on, Onangaki, how old are you? Please, somebody tell me. How old are you? How are you gonna grab, like, look at that tomato sauce fingerprinted index finger of yours, and then go on right ahead to click on that button on the microwave so I can just go look at that fingerprint that's red from tomato sauce? Why do I have to keep on dusting down fingerprints like I'm a CSI, for crying out loud, on the fridge, on the pantry, on the cupboard, on the microwave, on the fridge? Did I mention the fridge? The fridge. To a point of no longer opening the fridge like that from the side, but now you go to the top, because it's highly unlikely that anybody opens the fridge from that angle, because they are not going to be holding onto people's microorganisms that have peanut butter, jam, mayonnaise, tomato sauce, barbecue sauce, and Tabasco sauce all in one sitting, because a person out here was handling kitchen appliances with spicy paws, like condimented paws, like mustardy paws, like tomato saucy paws, apple cider vinegar paws, bicarbonate of soda paws. Like, guys, you know what, people, they don't make them the same. All animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others, okay? Yeah. I have a thing about personal space that way, but you see, there's somebody that I live with that's like that. Grubby paws on everything, and going into the bathroom is like a covert mission where first you peep in to see if the coast is clear, and if it's not clear, you hold your breath, you run to the toilet, you flush it, you close the toilet seat, spray, go out, chill outside for a minute, go back in, grab wet tissue, wipe down the rim, throw it in there, flush, wash your hands, then only sit. You see, that's just the thing. Wicked men and women, perhaps maybe your viewpoint of the world is like that person with whom I live. Right? Somebody else is gonna do it. Yeah. Someone else is gonna get rid of the fingerprints from the microwave, because I always remove them. You know what else gets to me? Taps, like silver taps. Maybe gold, but at this point we've got silver taps. When opening and closing the kitchen tap as you're washing dishes and you're handling dirty dishes, so you're handling, tomato sauce, you're handling mayonnaise, acha, and then you open the tap with that acha. When you are done washing those dishes and acha is still on the tap, mayonnaise is still on the tap, like fingerprints, and like proper, every morning I have got to, before I can even go pee, I could be pressed, like as in my bladder is gonna burst now. My bladder is gonna burst, but I cannot just sit on the toilet knowing what is happening with the tap in the kitchen, even though I'm at some point gonna come and wash whatever dishes in there. I can't just walk by all that acha and all that mayonnaise on a tap. So I'm out here grabbing skirpoti, little scrub, whatever, sunlight, and then wipe it down. So it's shiny like a tap. It's supposed to be silver, not murky, not milky looking. Silver. Then only I go and I pee. By then, my urine might even be all the way down to my toes, the way that I was so pressed to pee, but I had to get that done first. You see, there are people who know that there are earthlings that are pedantic like that, to a point of withholding their own pleasure or their own relief to fix stuff. Maybe that's what you're leaning on. You think this is an insurance policy. I see you. I gather. I'm onto you. I see it. Yeah, because you can't be so daft as to imagine that your acts have no ramifications, that there are no consequences on the left and on the right for everybody to gaze upon. You can't think that, because then that would make you super dumb. Maybe you're not dumb, just exploitative and just opportunistic and just trusting of the virtue of everyone else except you. Maybe that's what's going on. Maybe you occult practitioners trust that everybody else is going to clean up after you. That somebody is going to walk in and get a Pink Panther into the bathroom, sniff around, see if you flushed, wipe down toilet seat, and then only sit down, and then flush afterwards. Like, just keep on testing. Somebody is going to wipe down taps. Somebody is going to remove your handprint, your fingerprints on the microwave. So somebody is going to wipe down that ring on the kitchen counter. Somebody is going to mop that pond of orange juice on the coffee table. Perhaps maybe that's what's giving over here. There is an inherent trust, a deep, deep trust that the rest of us got this. Is that what's good? Is that what's good? Is that what's happening? Somebody please let me know what you are trusting in at this present juncture. Is the fact that somebody else is going to correct the status quo. Ne? That's what's happening. I get. Just be honest. Because you can't be so daft so as to imagine that there are no consequences to the kind of evil that you are walking in. I have got to give you at least the benefit of the doubt of the fact that you're really intelligent enough to know that this is earth destroying, but that some people pick up the pieces of your trash. Somebody's going to put down the toilet seat. Somebody's going to wipe down the urine stains. Somebody is going to wipe down the other kinds of stains. Somebody is going to mop the floor. When you walk in with your muddy, grassy shoes, somebody is going to vacuum that. Someone. Someone. You trust that someone else is going to do it. So when you just rock up to a clean kitchen counter, silver shiny taps, and a pristine mirror, microwave, and mirror refrigerator, you trust that you're not going to be, you know how it's written in 1 Corinthians 13 that right now we look as dimly through a mirror. Back in the day, mirrors used to be dim and murky. They were not quite the reflective surface that we have all become accustomed to today. So maybe you're looking at the mirrors in the days of Jesus. Yeah. Proper. Maybe you are walking into a kitchen and anticipating to happen upon a mirror of that nature. Look dimly through it, except when you've got Karabo for a person with whom you live. Then on that day, the mirror is always going to be shiny, but not immediately after you walk past it. Because after all, we're dealing with all of your fingerprints, aren't we? Is that not what's giving? Is that not what's good? Is that not what's up and is that not what's down? I feel like that's what's going on. You can't be so daft, so destructive, and think that this stuff does not have an impact on your economy. I mean, you know that witchcraft is messing with South Africa's employment statistics, right? You do know that sorcery is out here ransacking, wreaking havoc in the lives of what is going on over there. That's all. You gotta know that you cannot stand in the way of somebody's employment opportunities and there not be a dent in the country's employment stats, like just in totality. In the same way that situation later because I just feel as if though it's distracting me too much. In the same way that when you are out leaving ponds of coffee and orange juice and little rings of fire like the ones in the Middle East, but as opposed to being rings of fire, it's rings of coffee on the kitchen counter underneath your cups and whatnot. Yeah, you can't imagine that you can do that living alone for days on end. You can't imagine that with you in the house and you only, that unflushed toilet is just gonna one day make like a poltergeist and flush itself. That unwiped down surface is going to wipe itself down. That has got all that pap and cheese in it. It's just going to, miraculously turn up, cleaned, tomorrow, vacuumed, sucked. You can't possibly imagine that if the earth was teeming at the folds with people like you, that you could still live in it. Because I mean, really, the next day you're gonna rock up and you're gonna add another, like, what is this, tomato sauce stain on the kitchen cupboard. You're gonna put another mayonnaise stain on the refrigerator. You are going to put another fingerprint on the microwave. You are going to put another pond, and this time around, of like tomato sauce on the kitchen counter. You are going to have breadcrumbs around the toaster, just kind of, gather more dust ants. I'm going to be teeming at the folds around the orange juice pond on the kitchen, on the coffee table. So, I mean, with the infestation even of, never mind ants, but cockroaches, perhaps even rodents, you gotta see that at some point, you continuing to like defecate where you eat is not going to give hygienically for you at some point. That at some point, this is going to cave in on you. That at some point this is going to close in on you. I mean, you have got to see that, right? If at all the world had no one but you, we're all done for, aren't we? Maybe that's why you stay crazy. Because that's just the nature of narcissists. That's the nature of selfish people. You trust that you might not flush the toilet, but somebody else is going to do it. You trust that I'm going to keep praying. You trust that somebody else is going to choose to do what is right, even though you chose to do what is wrong yesterday. And the sad and disquieting thing about you being that selfish is that you are right? You're right. The world will be a going concern. You will literally get old and gray. Unfortunately, living on a planet that you keep on defecating on while somebody else scoops up your feces. You literally just get to live and live while the rest of us are your janitors, aren't we? We just keep on cleaning up after you, right? Yeah. Well, I mean, then on that day, do you not deserve to face a holy God that's going to make you clean up your trash for all of eternity? You deserve it. You know that we're going to clean. You know. So my question is, occult practitioner, seeing as you know that a world that's filled with no one but you is insufferable and unlivable, Why do you keep on recruiting people? Why are you trying to recruit me? I am the person that wipes down microwave stains, the fingerprints, the murk that I look into dimly as on a mirror. On the microwave. Me. I'm the person that takes out the tomato and the onion string from skirboti. Why? Oh, why? Under heaven, are you trying to recruit me from the occult? Because who is going to tagola your stains? Who? Here. You don't know what you want. You don't know whether you're coming or going. You don't know whether you're going up or down. You can't possibly imagine that this thing that you're doing is sustainable in the long run, given how destructive it is in the short run. But like I said, you are selfishly as ridiculous as you are precisely because you trust that people like me are always going to clean up after your mess. There'll always be a Christian on the streets or two, and there'll always be a person that, albeit not being born again, is just not Ajit bewitching all of the country on the left and on the right of them. There are people who will still give opportunities to your victims. They'll give them jobs. They'll feel sorry for them. There will be people that will forever be good Samaritans when you just walk right by the dying body. But you see, in the last days, they are increasingly getting outnumbered. They're becoming like dinosaurs. They're becoming endangered. If anything, extinct. You are making us like dodos and mammoths. Endangered species that at some point will be extinct. We will be extinct at some point. You are taking the earth over with all of your selfishness because, right, herein lies the deal, okay? These edges of mine that aren't giving. People who keep on draining and sapping and draining and sapping and draining and sapping from innocence on the street have no idea just how taxing that draining and sapping is, to the point where some people eventually end up giving up on you. They give up on you. There are people who are janitors for narcissists that one day just get out. They move on. They leave. There are people who are janitors for self-seeking, self-absorbed, conceited buffoons who can think about no one but themselves, that one day snap and are like, enough is enough. They leave. Do you understand what I'm saying? They leave. There are people who finally say, I will not do this anymore. And I've gotten to a point where I have sought the Lord's face earnestly to move me out of South Africa, because I'm sick and tired of being a living, walking, human, breathing vacuum cleaner. I'm exhausted. I keep praying. I push myself to 5 a.m. every day, Gatabel, because I am too distressed to sleep any sooner than that. I feel like these entities need one extra zap, and I feel as if though prior to 5 a.m. I haven't zapped enough. I am always just sweeping some dingy occult streets, wiping down your kitchen counters and flushing your toilets. I keep doing that. And I've gotten to that place where I'm enough. I've gotten to the place where I'm like, and I'm done. Gifedita, guys, gifedita. But you see, when a person says enough is enough, versus when a person finally walks out, there tends to be a lag between those two seasons. There tends to be a lag between the era of walking out and saying, I'm walking out. But just by mere virtue of vocalizing, communicating, making it clear to a dirty bag, roaming these streets like a coffee filter that is to be thrown in the bin but is still in the coffee machine. The thing about them, because they're used to being wiped and cleansed and dusted down by other people and don't want to take their own shower. Because they're used to being infants. When the individual in question that has made themselves their mama to be out here changing their diapers and everything sends them a notice of never mind eviction, but personal moving out, personal extraction. In their spirit of possessiveness, they try to hold on to them for dear life so that they can parasitically just continue to sap the juice out of this human walking living vacuum cleaner against its will, against their will. They go from happily trying to counsel you to flush the toilet and close the seat. It's only decent. They go from telling you or negotiating, calmly speaking about it, to, I tried, I can't live like this. So because of the multiple attempts at rehabilitation that they have walked in on your behalf, this individual that is lazy to basically get their act together, to start taking care of themselves, once you make a notice of eviction for them, either you go or I go, or their own extraction, their possessiveness makes them incarcerate, essentially hold hostage, so they can continue to parasitically juice the living, walking vacuum cleaner. That's what's happening with me. This stupid country has held me hostage, juicing my praying, juicing my advocacy, juicing my scrubbing down of kitchen floors, kitchen counters, juicing my extraction of tamati from skirpot. Because you see, herein lies the deal. Come on, let's have a conversation. If I lived by myself or with someone just like me, I would not have to walk into the kitchen and found modreining onions just dangling without being sent all the way down or in the bin, or happen upon a tea bag in the sink. If I lived by myself or with someone just like me, I would not have to deal with looking at iskirpoti that is some kind of way, or even a kitchen tap that is murky instead of shiny. I would not have to look at the microwave and see some people's prints all up on there. Neither happen upon tomato sauce as I am opening. You know, the one that actually gets me the most is when you don't expect to have some hard thing that's dried up on a surface happen upon your hands. You let it go so quickly on some ew. Like someone has left like dried up tomato on the raka that you open. Either the glass or the teaspoon. And then you hold it without seeing it. You open it. You draw it without looking. And then you can feel like crusty something there. It's like, ew. And you have to go to the kitchen counter, wipe it down, and then wash your own hands. And then only can you handle it again. You know what, guys, this thing is so taxing. Have you ever been inside your own drawer, the utensils, the teaspoon, the khaba, the forok, and you grab a fork from the spoons, from the utensils, and when you look at this fork, it's, oh guys, you know when a person eats out of khaba, a fork, you know those striations, those stripes that are there because, you know, you licked the spoon, or as you were eating, it left those striations on the spoon. And then you go in again because it's your germs, your cooties, and you just keep on eating. And then you put that spoon down when you're done eating. It goes to the sink to be washed, right? Somebody should be grabbing that teaspoon or that khaba, that foroko, that fork or that teaspoon, and with a scrub or a skirpot, literally do that on the teaspoon or if khaba, like that, to make sure that you remove a person's pathogens, their whole entire saliva set, like all their DNA. Like, it gotta go. Okay? It gotta go. It absolutely has got to go. And then, never mind the striations on the khaba, but the fingerprints on the handle. The fingerprints on the handle. I do not want to see people's fingerprints on utensil handles. For crying out loud. You should not be able to see those once it's been through sunlight, dishwashing liquid, or a sponge. But if it's still there, what did a person do when they were washing dishes? Please tell me. Wednesday. Quiz. Arabang. Ay.